Log file monitoring in Zabbix. This is about monitoring log files on hosts, and this is a very advanced topic. I'm going to show you a whole lot of stuff in this video. It's going to be jam-packed, but you'll probably have to rewind it several times and do a whole lot of background research. But I'm going to throw you right into the deep end with this one. So what I've done here is I've created this item which records all HTTP status codes that the proxy sees, and there's a lot of them. So there's a HTTP 500 up here, happened once. There are a whole lot of 404s. There's quite a lot of 404s. There's a lot of 301s and 302s, and I've set a trigger for the 302 redirects and 301s, so I can count them. I've also got a lot of 200s, and 200s is really what you want. 200s or 304s. And there's a few triggers there, and I've also got I can see the history of all the values in the last 25 values. And I can look at that over, say, a period of 2 days or a period of 7 days. It's only been running for 2 days. I can look at it for the last 5 minutes. We can see that there's been a couple of requests. Last 15 minutes, last 30 minutes, last 1 hour, the last 3 hours. And there's the 500 there in the last 3 hours. So from this information, I can just, look at more detail at what's going on with my web server or my proxy and figure out ways to improve it. So what I'll do is I'll delete all this information and I'll rebuild it from scratch so that you can see all the things that you need to do. And I'll fast forward that deletion stage. Okay, so all my previous items, triggers, graphs, screens for that HTTP status code information I created has been deleted, and let's start again. The first thing I want to know is on this server here, the log file that I want to monitor. So I'm actually SSH'd onto it, and if I just go and visit the folder where Nginx saves its log files, so that would be cd var log Nginx, that's ls. Okay, so lslh, and we can see here there's access log and there's error log. I'll be monitoring access log. And two very important things about this is the Zabbix agent doesn't have permission to read the access log. So what I'll need to do is give Zabbix agent, we'll add Zabbix agent to one of these groups, either www data or ADM. What I'll do, so I'll do that now. So let's first look at the groups that Zabbix is in. So groups, Zabbix, that's the user that the agent uses. Zabbix, and it's only in the Zabbix group, so I'm going to add it to the www data group so that it can read this access log here. So the command is sudo usermod ag www data Zabbix. Okay, so if I do groups Zabbix again, okay, so Zabbix is now in the Zabbix www data group. So the Zabbix agent will now be able to read the access log. Excellent. Okay, so let's look what access log looks like. So I'm going to use the tail command to actually read what's going on in that access log right now. Tail f access.log. what we're seeing now are actual requests to my server. And in there are HTTP status codes. So let me find a few. There's a 404. Just behind my head, there's a 301. There's a 404. There's a 200, and there's another 200. What I'll do is create a regular expression that will extract these numbers into an item. And I've got a regex already, which I'll give you. And let's test that regex in regex 101. So I'm just going to open up a browser here and go to regex 101 like that. Okay, I'm going to paste that regex that I've got into the top here. And I'm going to copy some of that log file from before. Okay, so I'm just going to open that up in an editor. So access.log. And I'm just going to copy, say, a couple of lines there. And put those into the test string. And we can see now on regex 101 that regular expression is actually able to split up all that log file text into parts. So let's have a look. So full match, group 1. Okay, so let's just look at the first row here. I'll turn off, and just look at the first row here. So the status code is down here in group 8. So that's the information I want, that one there. Okay, so on my host here, 2coin.org, I'm going to create an item. And that item I'm going to call HTTP status codes. I'm going to use Zabbix agent active, and the key is going to be log. The file, zoom in there, this is going to be var log Nginx access.log. The regular expression I'm going to put in double quotes. And I'm going to copy this one here that I created earlier. Put that in there. Okay. Encoding will be default, max lines default, mode. Output will be \8. First thing I'm going to do is just put it into log, because I want to see that I've got the right number there. 5 seconds, 90 days. I'm going to put in my HTTP status code application. I'm going to add that. Okay, item added. Rightio, it's time now. That's it there. It's time now to go and check that in latest data, and hopefully it appears. Okay, that took about a minute. All right, so okay, so here's the last value I'm getting. If I look at the history, okay, the reason why that took so long is because it's actually for the first time it's run through the whole entire log and just gotten all the status codes it could. So if your log file is quite large, that's probably going to happen. Okay, so I'm happy I got the right value there. I'm just going to go back into the item and select that as a numeric. Okay, HTTP status codes, and the type of information is a numeric unsigned. That way I will get a graph. Okay, so log, it's all good. Update, monitoring, latest data. Okay, let's wait. Data. Okay, HTTP status codes is coming through, and they're now coming through as numbers, so it's giving me a graph option. Okay, the graph, there we go. It's really only early days. Okay, so HTTP status codes all down the bottom. Now you might be wondering why for a single number it's drawing it layered like that. That's because for every 5 seconds there's numerous values coming through. We can look at those, and I'm going to show you what that looks like on the database. Okay, so I'm looking at the actual MySQL database here on of my Zabbix server, I'm going to go down and I'm going to look at the items table. Now I'm going to just get the last item that I created, order by one, descending. Okay, so that's ID there, the item ID 29832. That's the ID of the item I just created. That's the key you can see here. And I think if you should have a look around the database inside your Zabbix server if you want a bit of inside knowledge. Okay, so I'm now going to get the values for that item ID, and that's in table history unsigned int there. Okay, so let's select the rows. So where item ID equals to, so rightio, so this is all the data coming into Zabbix now. We can see for the time, where the time is identical here, there are several different values. Alright, so that's what it looks like inside Zabbix, and that explains why on the graph you get this kind of multiple values in one sort of 5-second interval. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit. We've been running for, what, 5 minutes so far. Next thing I'm going to do is create a prettier graph and then create some triggers. Okay, so monitoring configuration hosts. Let's go to graphs and let's create a graph. I'm going to call it HTTP status codes, and graph type is normal. Calculated. I'm going to add the item, which is HTTP status codes for my server 2coin.org. There it is, HTTP status codes, select. First one I'm going to use is all, and my color for all, I'm going to use a nice blue. Going to add another one. It's going to be the same thing. HTTP status codes. I'm going to show the max value, and I'm going to keep it red, and I'm going to do the same thing. HTTP status codes, and I'm going to show the min value, and I'm going to choose green. I'm not sure which green is nicer. I'll use that one. Okay, so that graph is good. Let's just preview it. Okay, so that's good. I'm just presuming that the higher the number, the kind of worse it is. That's why I'm using red, and the lower the number, the better it is. It's not always really the case with HTTP status codes, but it's pretty close. Okay, let's just add that. Okay, let's now go and just look at that. Monitoring graphs, 2coin.org, HTTP status codes. Okay, so let's look at that for 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, we can see our little key down here, what different things mean. At the start of the video, I had 2 days worth of data, so it was quite a lot more to look at. But next part of this is about adding triggers, because HTTP status codes are can give you really good inside knowledge of what's going on your web server. So I'm going to create some sort of common triggers for some various status codes and give them various importance. So configuration hosts, triggers for 2coin.org. I'm going to create a new trigger, and the first trigger I'm going to do is 500 HTTP 500 server error. This is most definitely a disaster and needs immediate attention most of the time. Okay, so the expression here is, I'll find my item on 2coin.org. expression is HTTP status codes. Okay, and the last value equals 500. Actually, I'll alert on every value which is greater than or equal to 500, because you actually get 501s, 502s, and 503s. Means different things. I want to know about all status 5xx's, so 500. Anything greater than or equal to 500 is going to be my trigger. Insert disaster. That's all good. Let's add that. That's one trigger. HTTP 500 server error. We'll create another one. What I'm going to do is just clone that. I clone that. I'm going to create a 403 forbidden. Okay, so this is a good one. I want to know if people are or if there's any service trying to access a protected area. I have a protected area on my server there. So 403 forbidden. Let's just edit that so that one equals 403. That value equals 403. Okay. Well, I'll make that a high. I just want to be alerted really that there are some 403 forbiddens being triggered. Okay, add that. Okay, let's clone this again and create another one for 401. Unauthorized. Unauthorized. It's a 401. Let's add that. Okay, so I've got 3 there. I'll create a few more and just fast forward the video while I do that. So 401 unauthorized. (101), 301, 302, 304, 400. And last one I'll do is, I'll show you something a little more tricky, but I'll create a 404. So let's open this one. I'll clone that. And I want to count how many 404s I get. I don't want to alert for every single 404. So instead of that, I will have add my item will be HTTP status codes. And rather than using the last value, I want to count values. The last of in time, say 10 minutes, value 404 is greater than or equal to 10. So this is saying if in the last 10 minutes there were 10 404s, I want to know about it. Ten or more 404s. If count in the last 10 minutes, 404s is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, I'm going to make that a disaster. Not really, it's under control. I have it under control, but I'm just going to, for the purpose of the exercise. So 404 bad request. Nope, 404 not found. I think it's what it is. 404 not found. Add. Right, yeah, so we have a whole bunch of triggers now. 404 not found. But and there are various severities, and the 404 actually uses the count this time. Let's go look at that as a graph. Monitoring graphs. Okay, so on the graph now we start seeing the triggers showing up. It's not showing all the triggers, it's showing the triggers for which ones have actually been triggered. In this period I haven't had any 500s yet or 101s. Okay, so let's look at the monitoring problems. Okay, so we're getting a whole lot of triggers being called. Whether you think they need to be triggered or not, it's up to you. I'm just demonstrating that. Okay, lots of 301s, 404. Okay, I'm going to update the description of that because it's misleading. Configuration hosts, triggers, HTTP 404 down there. That's HTTP 404 times 10 in 10 minutes. Okay, times 10 in last 10 minutes. Well, greater than or equal to 10 in last 10 minutes. Update. Okay, so there's a lot of 404s. Monitoring graphs. Last 15 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 was probably 2 in there somewhere. It's about 10. Next 15 minutes. Okay, last 30 minutes. Okay, so it's almost been running for half an hour. Okay, so the next thing to do is we'll create a screen showing this information, just like what I had at the beginning of the video. So let's create the screen. I'm going to call it HTTP status codes. Add. Let's go into its constructor. Let's add a graph. The graph for 2coin.org. HTTP status codes. I'm going to make the width 1100, I think, 300 high. That's good. Add. There we go. I think when there's a week's worth of data, it'll be much prettier. There's the 101 down there. Haven't had any 500s since I rebuilt this. And down here, I'll add another row. I'm going to change that and actually use something like plain text down here, and we'll show the values as plain text. So HTTP status codes, and I'll show the last 25 lines. Add. There we go. And so behind me we can see the last 25 status codes that the web server saw. Excellent. If I leave that for 2 days, that will look like the graph at the beginning of the video. Okay, so there was a rather long video on log file monitoring in Zabbix with an example, HTTP status codes.